Okay, so we're going to work on our star bread. And what we want to do is we want to get out our dough. You should have punched it down already. And lightly floured surface, we're going to cut it into four equal pieces. And so what we want to do is we want to um, cut it in half and then half again. That's what we're going to be doing. So let me. Now my dough might be a little bit of a different size. I might have a little bit less than yours. Just the dough rest amount that I have that I'm working with today, but it'll be the same principle. It just might be a little bit smaller. So don't worry. Okay, adding a little bit of flour to my surface, and I'm going to look at that dough. I'm going to kind of put it in a ball, and I'm going to cut it into half as much as I can, and then half again. So I'm going to cut it right down the center. Yep. And then again. And again. Okay? So it should have about four, hopefully, equal pieces. That one looks a little bit bigger than this one, so I'm going to pitch a little off. Now, you want to take each one and shape it into, you don't need to like roll it in your hands, but just kind of squish it into a ball shape and then flatten it a little bit. We're going to roll these out into hopefully equal, um, just flat, give it a little bit like a pizza, little flat round shape. So I'm putting a little bit of, if you need, flour on both sides. If it's really not sticky at all, then you don't need to do anything. But we're going to roll this out into little, think of it as like a personal pizza. But what we're going to do is we're going to layer our this dough with filling. I'm going to use Nutella today. You can use jam. That's the plan. We're going to layer it, and then we'll shape it into our star bread. It's going to be so pretty. It's kind of like a showstopper. Okay, so that's my first one. I'm just going to move that out of the way, and then I'm going to do another one. Again, just shaping it into a little bit of a ball shape, making sure I've got a little flour on beneath, and rolling it out. So I'm rolling one direction. If it is sticking, then go ahead and add a little bit more flour. So, like I need a little bit more flour. Okay. Boo boo. There you go. Like a little flour on both sides. Keep it from sticking so much. So I'm just going, different angles. This one is not as circular, so I'm going to stretch it a little bit. If you're really having problems with it stretching, and it's just like stretching and then bouncing back, just cover it for about 10 minutes and come back to it. You just need to let it rest a little bit longer. Bread is a funny and somewhat tricky thing. My kitchen is quite cold today, as you can see from as I mentioned, with my winter jacket on. It is not great for making bread. That's the problem is I like to make bread more in the colder months, and I don't know, maybe I should just turn my heat on. I don't have it on today because I'm like, I know it's going to get warmer later. So I'm just grinning and bearing it at the moment, but anyway. All right. Just shaping it again into like a little circle, smushing it. Think of it as like Play-Doh before you get started. That one I did not do as well, so as a result, it is a little bit of a wonkier shape. A little bit more flour. So just use the flour, as needed to keep it from sticking. This one is really not circular. It's like a heart shape. So I'm just stretching it with my hands to get it into more of a heart shape before I roll it out a little bit more. We're trying to get them as much the same size and shape as we can. We can trim it in a minute, but you know, the closer we can get now, the better. All right, that's my second one. That one was a little struggling a little bit. Let's see if this one I can do a little bit better. So these 4 pretty equal pieces, and then I'm going to pause the video to make sure that you have time to do that, and then you can come back, or I'm going to do a new video. And then what you want to do is just make sure that you have your baking sheet ready, parchment paper, silicone baking liner, something like that, and whatever filling you're doing. If you're doing Nutella, if you are doing Nutella, you probably want to soften it a little bit in your microwave, just so that it spreads a lot more evenly. If it's very cold, it's not going to spread very well. This would definitely cooperate a little bit better if it were warmer in my kitchen. Sometimes I have a hard time with dough rising just so slowly if it's cold in here. And so sometimes I make my own little sort of proving drawer out of my oven, but you don't turn it on. That's too hot. But if you just take your oven and you put hot water in a bowl at the very bottom of it and then put your bread in and shut the door, it just makes it like warmer and moister environment and can help it rise, especially if you have a really cold kitchen like mine. But it doesn't help me right now for rolling it out. Okay, so go ahead and work on those until you get them satisfactory, and then come back to do the next step.